Oh. Ooh, jeez. Gotta make sure this thing is set up right, man. Oh, man. Back at it again, man. Back at it again. Man, I hope y'all doing better. Hope y'all doing well. We finna get to it. Just left the gym. It's a pretty light day today. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Did a lot of like little skill work, playing around. Cause I like to hoop, like I say. Just was doing a little bit of skill work, just hooping. Nothing too crazy, but wanted to bring y'all another word, another video. You know what I'm saying? Just to provide some encouragement, maybe some insight. Man, I do be wanting to disclose, like, none of this stuff is law, obviously. My goal is to spark conversation, inspire, motivate, but it's never to rule. It's never to lay down the laws. Like, I talk about my faith. I talk about, my relationship with the Lord and, like, how that leads my life and those things. And I'm just here to share. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand not everybody's going to agree and all that. Like, hey, bro, what you do is up to you. I can't take away, what you think is right, or I'm not that type of person that don't discredit anybody. So I'm just offering what my experiences have taught me. So that being said, life is kind of like a tightrope, and you're trying to constantly balance. You know what I'm saying? You're constantly balancing against things. When I watched this movie one time where this guy was like walking across one side of the tightrope all the way to the other, but it was like from like one skyscraper to the other. It was crazy. And they said it was based on like real life. Like the dude was holding his pole and the wind was blowing, and it was just crazy to see how like he used the pole to just keep his balance, and he was walking one foot over the other. I mean, just describing how you walk in a tightrope, but just to see it was just like, it was a crazy movie. I don't know what it was called, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like, he was in the clouds, literally on a rope. So, I mean, no suspension, nothing, just straight rope. And the reason I say life is like that is because you're constantly balancing, constantly trying to figure out, what to do and how to use what you have, right? But to me, I think that people have been balancing the wrong thing, at least for me. Like, when I hear people describe how to live life, and when I've thought of how I previously wanted to live life, it was kind of like I was balancing everything that I wanted and all of my desires and trying to fit them all into a box and decide what got most of my time. But what I'm starting to realize is that's wrong. You shouldn't follow just your wants and your desires and that dictate your time, because they change too much, right? Like, you could want a particular thing and then you get to a specific point and you realize you don't want it anymore. And now you've wasted, resources, time, money based on a desire. I think that it's more so about what you value. It's more about who you want to be and how that shapes how you balance your life. So to me, it's more about prioritizing. You know what I mean? And this might seem like common sense to some people, but to me, it just wasn't. Like, I felt like, you can want to be a fireman, you can want to be a doctor, and you can want to be a lawyer. But the reality is that all those different paths have sacrifices and, a journey that comes along with acquiring them. So understanding how each path fits into what you value as a person will help you make a better decision about how you spend your time and how you prioritize and balance that time. You know what I mean? Because think about it like this. Time, your morals, your family, like all those things are what I feel like a person should evaluate when it comes to how they live their life. You know what I mean? Because think about it. I might want to be a CEO of a company, but what if I have to give up being a husband in order to do so? Or what if I have to end up, I might want to be an NBA player, but I have to give up my love of making music because I have to spend most of my time in the gym. Like, it's like prioritizing who you want to be and what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish. Prioritizing what you value the most. You know what I'm saying? What do you value about yourself? What do you value about how you look at life? You know what I'm saying? What could you live? What couldn't you live without? You know what I mean? You look at these great men, these CEOs, these head football coaches. If you look at these head football coaches in these big SEC programs, a lot of them be divorced. A lot of them don't be good dads. A lot of them, man, what? That junk be consuming their life. It's like success comes at a cost. And it's kind of like, in what areas do you want to succeed? Who do you want to be? What you do determines who you are, you know? Like, we all make mistakes, but at the end of the day, how you choose to spend your time and what you choose to do with your life determines, it's just a measure of your character and a measure of who you chose to be. So that's how I look at life in a way. It's a tightrope of priorities, right? But then I also think that it's a tightrope when it comes to your personality as well. And the reason I say that is because I've always been a pretty thoughtful person, I think. I think that thoughtfulness can orient itself in two ways. It can orient itself in good decision making, and it can also orient itself in overthinking. It can orient itself into being anxious a lot, or not necessarily acting as quickly as I should, simply because I'm thinking about it too much, you know? But then there's other people who are fearless, but it can orient itself into impulsiveness. But it could also be considered bravery, right? So it's a tightrope of knowing yourself and knowing how to be yourself, but using it appropriately, using your character traits appropriately. Because at the end of the day, being too timid could cost you your life. Being too impulsive could cost you your life. So yes, you're a fearless person. Yes, you're willing to dive into anything, but that doesn't mean you should always do that. You know what I mean? Knowing how to balance who you are and what's correct, and making those best decisions, and when to go against your gut and when not to go with your gut. I view life as this tightrope. You're trying your best not to ever tip the scale. But the reality is that some things will tip the scale. And that's my last point, is that there's gonna be things that you have to decide in your life that it's all going down over this particular thing. So for some people, it's all going down over their respect. And there was a point in my life where I might not have necessarily agreed with that. You know, they call it like crashing out. But I understand, like, if somebody disrespects your family, that's a lot of people's line. That's a lot of people, hey, I'll tip the scale over that. You know what I mean? Disrespecting me, stealing from me, you know, those kinds of things. You have to decide as a man. I think that's one of the most important things. You know, you deal with a lot in relationships. You deal with a lot in life, but think about it from a relationship standpoint. You can take, you know, maybe miscommunication here, or maybe they might even say disrespectful things sometimes, or not necessarily have a good control over their temper, or whatever it is that you decide in a relationship that you're going to take, right? Based on who you are. But the moment they cheat, tips the scale. You know what I mean? It's not, and I'm not on here to give a relationship advice or anything like that, but I'm just trying to drive home a point of, you have to make those choices in your life and decide, okay, when it feels like I'm losing my ability to be a father, when it feels like I'm losing my ability to give my all to my craft, when it feels like I'm losing my ability to make decisions because I'm too drawn into one thing or another, the scale's too tipped. And I gotta tip it back. You know what I mean? I gotta get back in balance. Or, hey, I got disrespected. He disrespected my family. I'm willing to tip this all over. It's over with. I'm jumping off. You know what I mean? You gotta know where's your line. Because some men will trade morals for money. But does that tip your scale? You know what I mean? It doesn't tip my scale. I'm not gonna do something that's super, unethical in order to gain some monetary advantage. But you'd be surprised how many people don't even consider it. They just go, hey man, that's a part of the game. Well, that tips my scale, And like I say, I'm not here to judge nobody. I'm not here to say what's right, say what's wrong. I tell you what I think. I tell you what I think is right and what's wrong, and what you do is up to you. But at some point, you gotta make a decision, because that's the only way to really have peace. I spent a lot of time in my life riding the fence about certain things, and because I told you, I'm thoughtful. So a lot of times when you think too much, you get stuck, and you just get stuck on this, right on the edge, right on that. Like I say, that middle ground where it's just like, dang, I can't really do this, but I really want to do this, and I can't do. Make a decision. What tips your scale? Who do you want to be? And find a way to balance it all. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I really just feel passionate about that, because I feel like that's where I am in my life. I really want to decide who I'm gonna be and what that's gonna look like. And I think that it's gonna unfold right before my eyes. And I hope that it unfolds before you guys, because I don't mind sharing my vulnerabilities and my mistakes and, my life, if it means that I can inspire and help somebody else. Because at the end of the day, I just want y'all to win. I want everybody to win. And I want you to win by being yourself. I don't want you to feel like you have to do anything that anybody else is doing to win. Because if you're being yourself, then you know that you're going to prosper as your soul prospers. So, that's all I got.